Okay, Shakeyburns back in business. So what do we have? They have a very famous two very famous poets coming together. Li Bai, who is a famous Chinese poet, ancient time, and Ezdra Pound, who is a bit more modern, also amazing. So drinking alone in the moonlight, intriguing, isn't it? So let's read it. Let's start with reading it in English. Beneath the blossoms with a pot of wine, no friends at hand, so I poured alone. I raised my cup to invite the moon, turned to my shadow, and we became free. Now the moon had never learned about drinking, and my shadow had merrily followed my form. But I quickly made friends with the moon and my shadow, to find pleasure in life, make the most of the spring. Whenever I sang, the moon swayed with me. Whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. Drinking, we shared our enjoyments together. Drunk, then each went off on his own. But forever agreed on these passionate revels. We promised to meet in the far Milky Way, the far cloudy star-rolled river. So what's amazing about this poem is, well, we have blossoms, we have a moon almost full, just past full moon. We have, well, we don't have wine, but we have tea. First of all, we have this amazing fusion, amazing union of two poets, and what's the most amazing is you have lots and lots of translations of this one little poem, which in itself is quite interesting. Why do people want to translate it again and again when other Chinese, other poems are not translated at all? You have like 40 different translations of that poem alone, maybe more by now, who knows. And that's number one. And number two, since we have lots of translations, then what makes this one so nice, so different, so strong and powerful? Because I don't know if you read any of other translations, but anyway, as you read them, that's the only one which kind of makes feel, not makes sense, but makes feel, makes you want to come back to it. There's something in how it's put together, because they all tell you exactly the same story, and more or less exactly the same words, but not exactly the same words. So there's something, as it's translated by a real actual poet who was interested in Chinese culture, who was interested in all these strange little things. There is this magic brewing in it. So how do you feel just after reading it?
Who, me?
You. How do you feel?
Amazed. Well, indeed, I feel, well, interested. That's probably what you call the intellectual level. And it doesn't necessarily happen with all kinds of poems. Sometimes they don't invite interest. There might be something else. But
what kind of interest?
Well,
literal interest?
Interest, because I look at it as it is printed here, with the English version side by side to the original version, it makes me wonder. This thing to my right looks like symbols. They do have a certain meaning, but they don't have this meaning to me. As I look at them amazed.
Oh, that's a part of Chinese poetry. It's not just the meaning, it's the sound, because you have tone system, and it's how it looks like.
Yeah.
How what it looks like is a part of a poem.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So what makes it special here is there is a happy herd of elephants. Baby elephants. I like baby elephants. It's just the blossoms. Don't mind. Blossoms falling. Unicorns.
Never closing the door.
Drinking alone. Unicorns always drink alone.
Do they? That's the beauty. That's the beauty of studying at a place like that. You never know what's going to happen next. Wow! And the dental clinic. You never know, really. You start stirring it up and you see what comes.
Happily, I'm not the only one who's amazed. They are also amazed, and as we discuss Chinese poetry, they discuss dental services.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, so that's how you decipher things. So you look at people, and sometimes you decipher them as people who possess information about teeth.
Well, anyway, let's get back to the poem.
As you look at the poem, again, you look at Ezdra Pound's translation because I think that he's got the clue to the meaning that escapes me, and that's how my
we'll discuss the English version. I mean, that's for reference in case if you know Chinese and you can read it. If you don't know Chinese, then you can just enjoy this look, if nothing else.
Yep.
I mean, I know, like, that is one, that is three, that's person, that's inside, that's flowers, that's wine, that's jug, that's bright moon, that is shadow. Well, anyway, even if you don't know Chinese, you look at the translation, you look at the original, you see the symbols repeating. The moon symbol and the shadow symbol repeating again and again, and the wine symbol.
Where's the moon symbol?
The moon symbol is that one here.
Okay.
The last one in the third line, that's moon.
Right.
And the first one here is shadow. With 3 strokes here. I think that's shadow, unless that's shadow. Yeah, that's shadow. Shadow, yeah. Coupled, shadow, complete, 3 people. Bright moon with the shadow makes 3 people complete. And wine is that last symbol. So you see it's a part of like drinking here and drinking there, and something about drinking in the middle.
Yeah.
So it's the 3 symbols that keeps repeating.
Yeah, and again, we can't discuss the Chinese version rhythmically. We can't hear it.
Yeah, because we don't know how to read it. Well, I don't. But we can see it's nice and tidy.
And
we can see that each line has 5 symbols.
Yeah. So they also, again, aesthetically, they form a nice, ornament, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And as we look closer, in the ornament, we find not only things that look beautiful, but also things that keep repeating. And as you say, if we think...
Yeah, that's what makes it an ornament.
Yeah.
A pattern.
There are patterns. And again, as we reflect on it, if we know something about Chinese, as you explained, we can also reflect on the way a Chinese phrase
another word which
appears
repeats is like together. Here, this little train bit, and down here, So here we can see it takes us back to the beginning. Let's now look at the English version, because that's what we are going to actually discuss. Occasional maybe a reference to the original.
That's what we're going to do.
So beneath the blossoms with a pot of wine, no friends at hand, so I poured alone. I raised my cup to invite the moon, turned to my shadow, and we became 5,000. We became 3. Poetry. Okay, so as we do read it. We shall get to the end, I believe. Great. Phew. That's been done. So what's the feeling? What's the sensation as we go through it? Is it what kind of poem? Scary, funny, calm?
It's not scary. Is
it sad? Is it funny?
It's not funny and it's not sad. Again, there's probably much about it that is very intellectual, and intellectual is not necessarily sad. It's not necessarily funny. It's something that's makes you.
Is it serious?
Well, I think it is.
I think it is serious, but at the same time it's playing with us. It's serious, but it's not serious. It's not serious, but it is.
Yeah, and again, as we read it, there are some things, as we continue reading it, there are some things that might surprise us. Something serious, something astronomical, and then something that's something foolish, something a dance begins. And again, drinking alone, the heading, drinking is not necessarily
Moonlight.
Yeah, alone sometimes means serious, and if you are an intellectual, which you certainly are, then you probably are accustomed to being alone, to reflect on something in your own company. But the combination of drinking and alone creates sheds a new light, a new moonlight on that picture.
So how do you feel when we just read drinking alone in the moonlight? Is it something people normally do? Who would be drinking alone in the moonlight? Would a drunkard care if it's moonlight or moonshine?
No. But you feel.
So moonlight means it's night.
Moonlight. If you look at it, if you are a policeman and not a poet, or if you are both a poet and a policeman, and there's a drunkard, then you look at him and you say, oh, there's full moonlight and there's full moon, and he's drinking alone. Yeah. So drinking alone in the moonlight. You're right. It's not. If you are drinking alone and if you are already drunk, then you probably don't care whether there's full moon or there's no moon at all, whether it's day or night.
Maybe it's something different.
Yes, maybe it's something different.
So when do we have moonlight?
At night.
At night. When do we have moonlight in poetry?
In poetry, when we have moonlight in poetry when they are describing a night.
Yeah, very ingenious. Well, when it's something romantic usually, or it can be something a bit scary, or something eerie, fairy, so unusual. So our normal light is sunlight. Here we refer to the moonlight. We have it in the title, at least in the translation. Then immediately we set the scene. Immediately we give the feeling, that's something unusual. Moonlight means going to the other side. So if it's something you could do during the day, but you do it at night in moonlight, it changes things, it changes how you relate to it. So, beneath the blossoms with a pot of wine. What can we say about this opening, this beginning? Beneath the blossoms with a pot of wine. How do you feel about it? Okay, blossoms, flowers.
Blossoms, flowers are usually fine. Beneath the blossoms, again,
sort of romantic,
sort of romantic, gentle.
So it's a nice night.
It's a nice night, and because we have flowers,
it's not a scary night.
It's not a scary
because
night.
you start with flowers.
And it's probably a warm night because flowers are usually there in late spring.
Well, unless it's a Mayhua which blooms in winter. Who knows?
May blooms in May.
Not winter. Well, but since they do not specify here, it just says flowers in the original too, then we suppose it's some gentle flowers. When do trees flower? At beginning of spring.
Yeah.
So it's springtime, the night is nice. Also, it's not just gentle and romantic. We are beneath the blossoms, so the blossoms are above us, like that's stars. It could be literal flowers, could be stars. So we have peacefulness.
And again, peacefulness is underscored by the fact we are beneath. Maybe
so
we
it's
are
like a shelter.
Sitting there is a shelter. Maybe we are sitting peacefully. Maybe we are
lying down.
Yeah, and looking upstairs, looking in the sky. So again, there's sort of restful atmosphere all around.
Yeah. Now with a pot of wine.
Again, restful.
So we have this funny little symbol which looks like a jar or jug. Yeah, and it means a jar or jug. It could be a pot, it could be something to contain liquid. And let's say a pot of wine. So what do you think about somebody beneath the blossoms with a pot of wine? Oh, he's a poet, clearly. So wine, why wine? Because they don't have vodka in China. What is it about wine? So wine is a symbol which keeps repeating as a part of words like drunk, drink.
Isn't it also a more or less universal symbol that isn't limited to Chinese culture only?
So what is the symbol?
For example, there's a Latin saying, some ancient Romans on their way, in Vina Veritas. There's also, I think, something about wine and wine that makes a man's heart happy somewhere in the Psalms.
So again, it's a question of a measure. If we speak of literal wine, just a normal wine, then obviously there's a question of measure. Again, you can drink a little bit, but if you drink too much, you just become a little pig. Then it's not acceptable. So here,
they don't survive here.
What is it?
They don't survive here.
I don't know. Well, anyway, but another meaning of wine is wisdom, the drink of wisdom.
Yeah.
So very often when they say, drink wine of wisdom, in a funny sort of way, because wisdom can make you dizzy, knowledge can make you dizzy. Or maybe that's just wine to relax. Yeah. Beneath the blossoms is a pot of wine. So we have up, which is nice. Is it okay? We have up, which is gentle, and we are below. And we have our pot of wine. No friends at hand, so I poured alone.
Again, drinking wine usually presupposes involves company. And as we read the first line, we might assume there's company, unless we remember the heading, the title of the poem. Now we are sure, no friends at hand.
Yeah, which is an interesting turn of a phrase. No friends at hand. So why do you need friends? Do you need them to talk to them? Why do you need them? You need them like decorations at hand. Friends. Oh, I forgot my friends today. Sorry. Yeah. No friends at hand. Again, through the negative, we imply that there are supposed to be friends. Well, no friends. But why do we mention friends at all? Because they're supposed to be there in a normal situation. But that situation is not normal at all because it's middle of night, outdoors, and now he's alone. No friends. But again, we have the word friends, which is nice to hear. It adds to the peaceful atmosphere. No friends. Well, okay. I poured alone. Which is like, oh, who can understand me? We have that loneliness, being alone, one. So it's one person. We clear the space. We make it friendly, but we clear it. We make sure it's empty. Focus on the narrator. I alone. So basically what we have is up, down, and the man in between. Alone. So as you have just one person, means we are going to talk about something universal. How do we see our place in the universe? How do we see our place in reality? So far so good, it's a gentle place. It's a gentle space. I raised my cup to invite the moon. So what do? You don't have any friends around. You do have friends around. The moon is your friend. And so what do we know about the moon? How do we take the moon? The moon is big, is in a way sacred, romantic maybe, important, brilliant, unsteady. Unsteady, because the moon changes all the time. And maybe that's why the moon can be a drunkard, because it just changes all the time. I raise my cup to invite the moon. So that's how we connect up and down, or down and up. As we are in that space, we don't feel the distance. There's no distance. There's no saying, the moon is far away and I'm here. There's no saying, oh, the moon is great and I'm just a tiny little person. It's not saying, oh, the moon is just a dead stone. It's stupid. The moon is alive here, and the moon is a friend, and the moon is equal. So that's what makes it so light-hearted. Because suddenly, this great goddess, the moon, where you have the elixir of immortality brewing, suddenly it's your neighbor. It's no different from Johnny next door. So we have the word raised. Again, we have this movement, this indication, this line connecting down and up. So the idea comes from the man, and the man, by his will, connects with the up, with the sky. It's not just the will; it's an invitation to invite the moon, saying, "Come down here." So you can feel his relation to the moon. It's not like, oh, the moon is a great queen of the night. No, it's like, hey, Johnny, come here, waiting for you, got something for you.
Yeah. When we raise our cups, we usually celebrate things.
Hooray!
Yeah. So raising the poet's cup is also a sign of celebration.
Yeah.
Despite being alone, despite having no one to drink with, he's celebrating, and now he has someone to drink with, and probably this company is even better.
Yeah, than human company. Because he's a poet.
Because he's a poet.
I raised my cup to invite the moon. Turned to my shadow and we became free. Aha. So we have this three. The man, the moon and the shadow. So what can we say about this triangle? How are they related? How do they construct the reality? Because that's how we describe the world. So that's our cornerstones. That's how we say what is in the world, how it is working. Yeah. So we have the man who is connecting. Yeah. The man's mission, the man's position is in the middle. And the man's position is the one who connects, the one who makes connections. Because it's the man who raises cup up. And that's the man who turns to the shadow that is down on the ground. Yeah? And then we have the moon, light, up, the shadow, dark, down. So we have those opposites uniting, becoming his friends, through the man in the middle, who's alone and has a pot of wine, interestingly. So, turn to my shadow, we became free. So somehow 3 is an important number which keeps coming back again and again and again. You have, again, it's a classical construction of reality. You have the sky, you have earth, and you have the man in between the two. So, and you are as brilliant as the moon, you are as dark and cold as earth. You're in between, and you connect them, and you bring life, you make it alive. As you invite the moon, it becomes alive. As you turn to your shadow, again you point your attention to it, it becomes alive. Yeah? Turn to my shadow, we became free. Now, who are his friends? The moon and the shadow. An interesting company.
Yeah.
So, have you ever considered your shadow as your companion?
Well, me not really, although there are maybe some books, some films that clearly show the connection between the man and his shadow. Again, we can see our shadows. We can't see both ourselves and our shadow unless there is a mirror, unless there's a reflection. So a film might act as a shadow. A real mirror might probably reflect both me and my shadow. Otherwise, there's shadow which is more or less separate from me, although in reality it is part of me.
How is it separate from you? You can see it.
I can see it, yeah. So, and well, it exists and it doesn't. It exists. It responds to my movements.
Now again, so the moon, again, it's connecting the opposites. The moon is something distant, and the shadow is the closest to you. It repeats, like you say, all your movements. It is the second you, your shadow. Yeah? And the moon, hooray! Moonlight! The moon, I say, that's all magic. The moon makes a shadow, and the man makes a shadow. So without them coming together, there would be no shadow. Again, interestingly. Now, what else? What else? What else? Ah, yeah, thank you. That was very helpful. Turned to my shadow, became free. Okay, I'll probably remember what I just had in my mind. Hooray! That's what happens when you read about drinking alone in moonlight.
Yeah, that's what happens when you drink.
Hooray! Okay. Now the moon had never learned about drinking, and my shadow had merrily followed my form. So that's bringing the moon down even more. Like, it's not this a shiny, impeccable goddess. No, it's a silly neighbor, and he or she isn't even a good drinker. So it's like, if you're that poet, then who is a good friend for you? Somebody who knows how to drink. The moon is stupid. It doesn't know. And my shadow had merrily followed my form. Okay, followed my form. The moon had never learned about drinking. It's a full moon. Full moon. Stupid. Shadow. So again, you keep repeating, and every time you say moon, you look up and you see light. Every time you say shadow, you look down, you see darkness. So we keep swaying between the two. And again here it's kind of negative. The moon can't drink. The shadow has no mind of its own. Yeah. Well, that's my friend, or that's me in 3 places at the same time. I raised my cup to invite the moon, turned to my shadow. We became 3. Now the moon had never learned about drinking. My shadow had merrily followed my form. So are they good friends?
Not yet. The moon is unaware of the pleasure or something of drinking. The shadow just follows me, follows my form. Being incapable of anything else, being just a replica of me.
So that might be another connection between the moon and the shadow. If we believe the official version, which you may not believe, then the moon is just reflecting sunlight, but has no light of its own, and the shadow has no dark of its own, but reflects my movements. Although some people say it's not true at all, neither. Some say that moonlight does not come from the sun because it's different. They say sunlight is warm, but moonlight is cold. Like if you measure temperature in a pool of moonlight, it would be colder than just in darkness. So the moonlight freezes things a little bit. So how can it possibly be the same as sunlight? And again, some people say, shadows. What do we know about shadows? Who knows? If you're not a shadow. Well, anyway, what is your shadow? We have the idea of shadow now in like psychology, don't we?
What's the idea of shadow in psychology?
What's the idea of shadow in psychology? Something that you don't want to present. Something that is a part of you, but which you don't like admitting exists, as I understand. But that was written in like 700 something, long before psychology came around.
So he's trying to make good friends with his shadow.
Yeah.
Our poet is.
But he knows that a shadow is him, because the shadow only followed my form. He knows it's not a scary, different, separate being. It's him again. And what kind of a person is he? If he can look at the moon and say, moon, you're stupid, I invite you, but all you can do is sit in my jar. Are you going to drink? No? Stupid. Yeah. So he doesn't have this kind of awe or amazement or fear. he treats the moon like a neighbor again. And my shadow had merely followed my form again. Oh, you're a stupid shadow. And again, it's a person who looks, who can see his shadow as a being, who can see the moon as a being. Then again, that's another thing about Chinese poetry. It's like, yeah, thank you. Every time when you come across established images like the moon or pot of wine, you're supposed to remember all poetry that is written about it, all pictures that's been painted. Even if you just look at the moon and the sky, that's a special kind of observation that they practice in China. So you don't just look at a flower, say. If you look at the flower, then you get more pleasure, intellectual pleasure, as you recall all sorts of art connected, all sorts of ideas connected with it. So nothing exists on its own in poetry and in world too. So even here we have these three very different beings: the shadow, the man, the moon, connected as one group, one whole. Because we have that somewhere here, the fourth line in the original, which means complete. So complete free. All these opposites coming together in one complete being company. But I quickly made friends with the moon and my shadow. So they're stupid, but I don't care, they're just nice. I don't care if they're stupid, because they're my friends now. I don't have other friends. I quickly made friends with the moon and my shadow. So he's light-hearted, easygoing. To find pleasure in life, make the most of the spring.
Yeah. So, are we sure now that it's spring?
That's a good question.
Yeah. The blossoms are there.
Because spring can mean literal spring or can mean life in general. Find pleasure in life equals make the most of the spring, just said in other words. Especially as in China you count years in springs. So why?
But generally, spring is the beginning of new life. So you must.
Again, it's positive.
Yeah, it's positive. You make most of your life while it's still in its beginning stages, while it's still young. So
why are you here? To find pleasure in life. So even if you're alone, you don't have human friends, you don't care because you're happy. Whatever happens, you're happy. You have friends, you're happy. You don't have friends, you're still happy because you have the shadow and the moon, they're always with you. Yeah? Find pleasure in life, make the most of the spring. So, he doesn't care. He's very light-hearted. I quickly made friends with the moon and my shadow. To find pleasure in life, make the most of the spring. You don't have time to be upset. You don't have time to fuss. Yeah, like in the Beatles song, life is very short and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friend. Yeah, well, that's again this idea. Why are you here? Why are you here? You go into the night, which is a magical time. You go into moonlight, which is even more magical. Then what are you gonna do? Sit down brooding like, oh, I have no friends, no one to drink with me. Oh, with your tears just drop into your wine. No. If you go out into the night, you go into that magical space. And your life is that magical space. Then you don't want to sit like a loser. You want to make most of the spring.
Yeah, if you're very practically minded. You are there. you have to make most of the situation you are in, you find yourself in.
To find pleasure in life. Right. So again, he doesn't say seek pleasure in life. He says find pleasure in life. There's no good seeking. You can be seeking until you're sick. You can seek for pleasure all your life till you die and never find it. No, find pleasure. That's positive. Yeah.
How can you find it unless you seek for it?
No. You shouldn't be sick for it. You should be healthy for it. Because you don't really need to seek. It's around you.
Is it?
Because it is. Look at this flower. Look at the moon. Can you see the moon from here? I'm not sure. Well, anyway, look, I don't know. Look at this tea. Look at the biscuits. Look at this amazing poem. Look at you breathing. Find pleasure in life. Make the most of spring. There's no time to sit through like, oh, I wish, I hope, if only, You live every moment. That's the idea. Then your life is long.
Do you?
Then your life is long.
Do you really?
Of course you do.
Or are there only these rare moments?
No.
When you live, otherwise you might as well be there.
Your life is one big rare moment. Now the question is whether you're aware of it or not. Well, if you're not aware, well, sorry lad. Who can stop you from being aware? I quickly made friends with the moon and my shadow. To find pleasure in life, make the most of the spring. It's like, whoever, come here. It's not just whoever, of course. It's the moon up here, brilliant, and the shadow down there, dark. But at the same time, we don't treat them too seriously. Just a stupid shadow, just a stupid moon. Whenever I sang, the moon swayed with me. Whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. So again, the man, the person, takes the position of the mediator, the one in the middle. The same as the man is connecting up and down. Now he connects the movement. Movement means life. He comes into the stillness of that night and he starts singing and dancing, making the moon and the shadow dancing too. So he is the creator. He is the one who brings movement and life there. So what does he do? Singing and dancing. So why would he sing and dance? What's so special about singing and dancing? Who sings and dances?
Someone who enjoys singing and dancing.
Somebody
who enjoys life.
Yeah, somebody who feels free, who feels happy.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently.
It doesn't have to be happy dance, happy singing, but if you feel free, then you sing. If you feel happy, you sing. You dance, you express yourself. Then again, of course, it's more than that. What is singing, dancing? That's about being a shaman. That's about losing your human form and turning into a wave. When you sing, you turn into a sound wave. You become your singing. When you dance, you lose your form. You become a wibbly-wobbly quantum field. And then, that's how you affect reality around you. Yeah? Whenever I sang, every time, the moon swayed with me. So he's singing here, comes to the moon. So it's not just in his head. That's how he actually affects reality. The sky is listening and responding to his singing, to his breath, to his words, to his sound, to his intention. swayed with me. So what is about swaying? So again, swaying is not going in a straight line. Swaying is moving back and forth. Again, same as we keep going up and down, bright and dark. We have this swaying here. The moon swayed with me. Again, he's connected with the moon. The moon swayed with him. There's this synchronization. And then, whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. So here we connect with down, with dark sides. Again, this synchronization. The moon and singing. The shadow and dancing. So maybe singing, I don't know, is it more intellectual than dancing? And dancing is more bodily, closer to earth? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe singing is connected with air, so it goes up to the sky, and dancing is connected with body, so it goes to shadow. Maybe. But what happens here is he disappears. He becomes the moon and the shadow, repeating after him. So they become one whole, truly. So again, when I sang The Moon Swayed With Me, is it the moon swaying or is it him? Maybe it's him getting drunk and dizzy, but the way he sees it, he knows, no, the moon keeps me company. Whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. Yeah. It may be a stupid shadow, but it knows how to dance. Again, he speaks like they depend and do not depend on him. Yeah, I'm the captain.
I'm the shadow of the captain, getting wild.
In moonlight.
In moonlight. Again, it's a wild dance. It's not a classical dance. It's not a ballet of some sort, or at least it's not what we normally see as ballet dances. It's a wild dance, again, either because I'm drunk after I've drunk so much, or because I'm getting wilder, drinking wine, enjoying, yes.
Is it cut in my head, by any chance?
Well, not your head, but part of your hair.
Maybe
is
you
missing.
should have told me and moved it a little bit.
Only a tiny bit of your hair.
Well, it's better not to have any of your hair. You know. Maybe that's a bit better.
Good job.
Yeah. So yeah, it's about being wild. Maybe you should just put it up a little bit. Yeah. Undo it a bit. That's how you undo it for this big thing here. Is it a bit better? I just don't for like 40 minutes, 50 minutes. You never told me it was cutting my hair. Oh well, boys. So, wild means he's free. Again, where is he? He's not in a pub. He's not at home. He's not with his friends, not with a wife. That would be interesting. He's out in nature. He's natural. And now his dance is wild, again, natural. Do we feel like he's a crazy Tarzan? Dancing naked like crazy because he's drunk and smelly?
No, not really. Again, a wild dance doesn't necessarily have to be dance of a Tarzan. There are lots of wild dances which are pretty natural, which are pretty and still are not limited by any sorts of predetermined movements, something that you must follow. So he feels free. He feels...
Okay, so again, when I sing the moon sways with me, the sky sways with me, my let's say, if we put it very simple, then we can say the moon is like what I'm aware of, my bright side, and the shadow is what I'm not aware of, my dark side. That's coming back to modern psychology, but why not? Then when I sing, my bright side sways with me. Again, it stops being so straightforward and stupid. Because the moon doesn't know how to drink. Our straightforward thinking, logical mind doesn't know how to be drunk. It doesn't know the wibbly wobbly, squiggly wiggly ways. It can only go on the rails of logic. So what he does,
ego and something else.
So what he does here is he gets to that state where the moon itself, the bright logic, begins to sway. It's like, oh, what's going on? Oh. And then his shadow goes wild and free. When I dance, I'm not wild, my shadow is. Yeah? Whenever I dance, my shadow went wild. Yeah? Anything else here?
No.
So we don't feel like he's wild and crazy, because in the translation at least, because the words flow nicely. We don't have any sudden jerks. We have long words, smooth sounds.
Yeah,
whenever I sang, the moon swayed with me. Whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. It's all quite soft in sound. So as he reports it, it's a bit from a side, as if he's watching it and describing, there's some wild orgy, but I'm just describing it.
That's what I meant. So normally...
Hey.
Yeah. Again, if you are a busy intellectual, you are probably a busy intellectual who looks at something which is not part of yourself.
Right.
So there is a world, there is a thing, an object you are studying under the microscope, for example, and it's not part of you. And then you can afford being objective, looking at it from above, so to speak.
Yeah.
Here, the intellectual component is also in the fact, lies also in the fact we are we have the narrator, it's me, it's I am doing something. At the same time, he always reflects the narration, he always reflects his actions, and we don't really see it only sort of through his eyes. We see it as if there were a film.
Yeah, we look at it after it was filmed.
After it was filmed, and again, it's the narrator who is filming it, and he's not entirely drunk and crazy, because he's able to describe it, he's able to alter it, his camera.
Very often, this drunkenness is just a game.
Yeah.
It's a game they're playing. I mean, you know that famous film with Jackie Chan, The Drunken Master?
Who, me?
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Never seen it? Oh well, maybe you should watch it.
Maybe I should watch films, yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so maybe again, that's what we like. This is what we seek. Our expressing our wild side, our free side, when you can just dance naked or not, in the moonlight, making friends with the moon and your shadow. You're alone and you're not alone, and you're free and you're happy and you're dancing, you're singing. How many people want to do it deep in their hearts? Maybe not singing and dancing, but something similar. And they're like, oh, I'm not supposed to, no, somebody will hear me, or they'll call the police, or they'll look at me like I'm an idiot. And as we read it, we allow ourselves go there. So even if people are like, oh no, I'm not supposed to do it, but at least I can read it. It's, I guess, again, talking about today's culture, that's probably what made the Frozen so popular. Let it go, can't hold it anymore. Yeah, because that's the same story when the girl with big magic powers tried to restrain her magic, because she was not supposed to use it. But then finally it breaks out, because you can't hide it. It breaks out and she runs away. And at first she's like, oh no, I'm all alone. But then she realizes, oh, but I'm free and happy. And finally she's happy. Finally she can express herself. So all that timeline, if you believe in timeline, I don't, then that's what keeps repeating. Was it any different more than 1,000 years ago? It was no different. You always had people like in the Chinese bow ties. Oh no, I'm not supposed to dance naked. No, I'm not supposed to sing in moonlight and dance with a pot of jar. It would be nice too. And today, let it go, let it go. No difference. Any difference? So whenever I sang, the moon swayed with me. Whenever I danced, my shadow went wild. Drinking, we shared our enjoyment together. Drunk, then each went off on his own. Again, that's capturing that precious, tiny moment between getting drunk and being drunk. With what? With freedom. So wine could be wisdom, or wine can be freedom. Yeah. So that drinking, we shared our enjoyment. Drunk, each went off on his own. So they only came together in that brief moment between getting drunk and becoming drunk. How long does it take? I don't know. You tell me. So again, as you look at the original poem, you notice probably that's two lines before the two last lines. You have that wine symbol in them, which is like about drinking. The first symbol in the line number 4, 3 and 4 from the end. You can see it. So we have that wine symbol right here in the beginning, and then we have it repeating here and here as a part of another sign, another character. Yeah, so we come back to it. Where else was it? I guess it's basically connected to rice. It's simple. It's like you make it from rice.
Rice.
It was somewhere else here. Can't quite see it. Well, anyway. So we have the moon, the shadow, and wine repeating. So again, wine or drinking, it comes into view. A process of taking in and then getting drunk. Drinking, we shared our enjoyment together. Who are we? Him and his imaginary friends, or him and the moon and the shadow for real? Or was the moon and the shadow him all the while?
Yeah, maybe.
And then drunk, then each went off on his own.
Yeah.
So again, we
became united. Sorry.
Yeah. So they come together, and we witness that a tiny, short period when this ultimate freedom and happiness of 3 friends in a wink, in this magic moonlight, and then whoosh, it's gone. Again, is it sad? Okay. Then each went off on his own. When you're drunk, so it's why is he getting drunk? Apparently for that tiny short period when he's not drunk yet. This border in between not drunk and drunk. Because if you're not drunk, then you're as stupid as the moon. If you are drunk, then you're off. So drunk, then each went off on his own. So in the end he got the moon drunk, and the shadow drunk, and himself drunk. Because he is the mediator, he's in between. What happens to him happens to all reality. He gets drunk, all gets drunk. He switches off, the world switches off. Each went off on his own. So from his point of view, it's like, oh, okay, let's finish it all. Oh, the moon, where are you going? Don't want another sip? Oh, okay, see you. Oh, drunken moon, look how it wobbles through the sky unsteadily. Never knew, it's a horrible drink and never knows when to stop properly. And the shadows, look at the shadows, it's lying there already. Just had that much of wine and it's already lying on the ground here. Loser. Drunk, then each went off on his own. And again, that connection, when we had all 3 connected, down, middle and up, connected, and now it's disconnecting again. Off on his own. And wow, we can imagine, okay, the moon goes on its own. It's okay. How can the shadow go on its own? That's more interesting, I guess. How can he go on his own? Thank you. Okay. Phew! Yay! I tell you, that is magic. Every time we start, we open a vortex of magic. And the Gnomki come around, and then you have all those strange things happening. That's because we read about the moon and night. And Gnomiki. Yeah. Hello. I just had a Gnomic coming to visit us. Nice to see you. But forever agreed on these passionate travels. So now we take it to infinity. We had our minute situation, which was very fleeting, coming together, then falling apart again. And now we take this tiny fleeting moment and we make it eternal because it's beautiful. There's nothing more beautiful than this complete union. All 3 are connected. So even though it's fleeting, it's eternal. Forever agreed. So we had fleeting moment, now we have forever and agreed. And even though we went each on our own, still we agreed, we were together in our will, because we had that moment of connection. So now we keep being connected. Even if our paths go either way, then on these passionate travels, did it look like dispassionate? Can we ever have dispassionate travels? Well, the Chinese believe that yes, you can have dispassionate travels. That you enjoy something without investing into it, without being attached to it, which is the best kind of enjoyment. Because if you invest too much into it, then it's taken away from you. No, you're sad and broken, because you want it back like an addict. But if you're cool, like the moonlight, if you're cool and calm, then you enjoy it. fully. But if it's taken away, you're like, okay, no problem. You're dispassionate. So again, you can say a lot about dispassionate idea, or in Chinese poetry, how it's what they look for. The middle, the golden measure, the golden middle. When it's, let's say, it has no taste, it has no color. Yeah, it's somewhere in between. It's the best that you can experience ever. Yeah. So tasteless doesn't mean it's bad. Tasteless means it's very good because it's not affected by anything. It's pure. A sort of. And then again, this idea of clarifying your feelings. It's like, you know, the traditional black and white Chinese paintings. No, never seen it. Well, maybe you should do it as your homework. Well, anyway, again, the idea is if you have lots of bright colors around you, they distract you, and you stop seeing. You stop seeing details, you stop seeing hues, you just see, oh, colors, bright colors flashing in your eye. Same as if you have too many sounds, like in an orchestra. You hear the big concert, you don't hear a single note. Even if, because you have different lines running in parallel, and you don't have attention to attend to more than 3. So you can't hear it. So what you have, same with taste, if you have lots of food, you stop feeling the taste. So what you do, you have black and white paintings where you can enjoy every little stroke, every little hue. And here, again, dispassionate levels. It's a pleasure, but you don't invest into it. You don't get sucked into it. Forever great in dispassionate levels. We promised to mate. So it was I and I and I before. And then we became free. And then again, I made friends, I sang, I danced. And then we shared our enjoyment. So then we went off on each own, but still it's we. We promised to meet in the far Milky Way. So it's like making sure it's eternal. So you connect the fleeting and eternal in these 2 last lines. Forever gives you first idea of eternity, and then the Milky Way, obviously, that's somewhere where you get after you die. It's that river in the sky which takes your soul to the next stop. So you talk about a tiny moment in life, then at the same time it's out of time, because it happens in a magical place. And then the blossoms really become stars. The blossoms above you become stars, and there's moon among them, and then the blossoms become the Milky Way. Yeah? So what's that word that in the second line and in the next to last line? I think it's together. I think it means together, that little train. I'm not sure. But anyway, it takes us back to the beginning. It connects all the ideas of eternal and fleeting. So we part in this short life, but then we meet forever in the Milky Way, the river, the big river. So what makes it so amazing? That union, that feeling of magic, of freedom, wild freedom, which is in everybody's heart. Your heart, my heart, your heart, everybody's heart, which we may be afraid or not afraid to express, but which we feel, so we know it. It's a place where no humans are allowed. Because why? Because every human is a universe of his, her own. Maybe humans are humans. Maybe because humans are stupid and they will never understand you. Who knows? But that's a place where it's only you and your bright side and your dark side. And as you come together, friendly, gently, laughingly, that's important. You don't do it seriously. You don't go, hey, okay, now the moon, yeah, the shadow, okay. Why am I not enlightened yet? The moon, yes. Shadow, yes. Why am I not enlightened yet? Oh, you do it slightly, with a light touch, with a dance, with a song which comes from your heart and which unites the three. And then once you make the connection, it is eternal. Yeah, in the far Milky Way. Okay. Anything else here to say? Oh well, not bad. I guess you could say much more if you just paused a little. So one more thing you can do is just to feel it really. Feel like you are there. How it's not about some crazy Chinese poet of old time ago, even not about a crazy American poet not so a long time ago, but it's about you. It's about everyone. Maybe it's the most accurate picture of what's going on inside us. Although obviously there's a lot going on inside us. But that's something very deep, because otherwise why would people want to translate it again and again and again? In English, I think in Russian too. Because we know that's ultimately that's what we find. That's what we want to find. And that's again what poetry does, trying to catch. It's slippery, it can never be caught. It cannot be named, but we can feel it. We can feel it flitting past. We can feel the fairy wing on our face as we read it. And maybe that's why we like it. Okay. Hello. A bit of an afterthought. We didn't say it, but maybe it's obvious, but what is beautiful here also is that ultimately, what is it about? It captures the ultimate loneliness, and at the same time it's the most intimate freedom, sadness and happiness hand in hand. Because on one hand, what says here, like, I have no friends. I have no friends. There's no one to share my joy with me. I don't have anyone. But I have the moon, I have my shadow. Even though they come to me for this brief meeting, and they're not really friends. They repeat after me, they don't know. The moon is not a good drinker, the shadow follows me. So no one understands you, no one can follow you. You're alone. You're absolutely alone, but in that loneliness you have your greatest freedom. Which again sort of brings us back to the Frozen film. Because it's only when Elsa goes to that desert all alone, when she thinks she loses it all, when she loses her kingdom, her family, that's when she becomes happy. And again, it's one of those French poets said, Verlaine, maybe someone else, about poets. Like, a poet is supposed to live in a high ivory tower, and he says like, yeah, it might be a bit cold there, but it's so close to the stars, you can see and hear and feel the stars on there. And ultimately, we know drinking alone in the moonlight is all we can do. We can't change the fact that we are alone. We are a universe in our own, and no one else can share it with us, no matter how close we feel. And although we cannot change the fact of our loneliness, we can enjoy it. We can find beauty in it. We can see that we don't really need anyone but our own shadow. My shadow is me, so there's no one else really. Well, so much for it. See you.